Good morning. So here we are at the wonderful Salisbury Hill in Bath. It's Little Salisbury Hill rather. It's about -4 and just waiting for the sun to fully rise. And today we're just going to talk a little bit more about aperture and about use of aperture at times like this, so early in the morning. So there's always a compromise to be had in the photography in terms of how you utilize aperture, because on one hand you want it to be as sharp as possible, so you want to go for kind of f8 to f11 or f16, but on the other hand you need that light to be there, and that's what's so important. So that's what we're going to think about today. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is this wonderful scene here. So the sun's slowly rising on beautiful Salisbury Hill, and I've been taking photographs since about 6 o'clock this morning, and there are elements of compromise that you have to make within your aperture when you're taking a shot. So if I show you in the back of the screen, and then we'll go from there. Okay. This is something that, just before we talk about aperture for a minute, this is home for me, and this is somewhere I've been my whole life, and this hill is incredibly special to me. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that before we start. So here we go. So first of all, I'm on f8. Now, as the sun is coming up, it's becoming a lot easier to use higher apertures. When I was photographing earlier, I had to be really cautious of what aperture I was using. But even now, I need to be careful about overexposure and getting the correct exposure. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use manual. Now, manual is a brilliant way of photographing, and it allows you to really kind of fine-tune your exposure, especially using mirrorless. So if we just take this down a little bit, I personally never want things too overexposed. I mean, you can always look at a histogram, but I think it's important to just look with your eye and just make sure that you've got the shot that you need. So I'm going to expose once for the sky. So at the moment, I'm using f8. Now, early on, I was using f4, and I was thinking the only way of getting the light in that I really need is to go for a lower f-stop and basically focus stack. Right now, I'm just about able to use f8, so I'm just going to zoom in, check my focus. Okay, I'm on focus. Okay, just going to on a 2-second timer, and then we'll make a start. Now I'm going to come out and I'm going to make another exposure for the ground. So I'm going to try going up to f11 now and see what happens with this. So in fact, it's not looking bad now. Before I just wasn't able to do that without having to increase my ISO. Let's go again, and this time what we're going to do is keep it at f11. I think the camera can now handle that, but we're going to just increase the time that the shutter is open for, and by doing that be able to keep the same settings. God, it's cold up there. So I love this place. I absolutely love this place, but God, it's freezing right now. Right, let's move on, try and take another shot. Okay. Here we go, here comes the sun. So let's have a look again. So as the sun's coming up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of a burst going on here. Now the easiest way to do that is to go to f22 or f20, and you get a really nice starburst coming from the sun. Now you do get, the only problem with this is you do get a distortion and diffraction from doing this, but you also get a wonderful sun. Now I'm just going to zoom into that a little bit, focus in on the sun, and let's give it a go. Yeah, so we can see those little, in this area here, if we zoom into the sun there, you can see the aperture blades at work within the lens. So let's go again. Okay, now we don't want to keep it at f22 because it'll just wreck the shot. So we want to take it back down. Whoops, wrong one. Want to take it back down to f11 or so. Now at this stage, I can take my ISO right down to ISO 64, so the lowest it will possibly go, best possible quality. And I want to keep on exposing for that sky and exposing for the ground because they're so different right now. So this is what's so lovely about doing this in manual, because it's quite easy to do that way, or exposing for both. So I'm going to take a shot just for the sky. Come on camera, focus. And I'm going to take another shot just for the ground. Okay, so another way of using aperture, which is different to the kind of normal way of using aperture really, is just zooming in on just small, sorry, I just got to sort out my camera for a minute, there you go. Just zooming in on small areas and small details and really focusing on an area. So I'm going to focus on the frost, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a very small aperture. So let's make a start. So I'll just set this up for a second. Okay, so this time I'm just going to take it down to f4. So I want to take my focal point down, so I've got this frost in the foreground, and then I've got a fantastic sun rays in the background. I'm going to try this a few different ways just to get the exposure that I want. So the idea with this is I'm using my my focus area deliberately to get an out of focus background, and by doing so I'm really kind of looking at the details. I'm obviously not trying to get it all in focus. I'm just trying to get that kind of sense of, well, for one, the cold, and second, the kind of texture and the surface of the land. So let's give it a go. So getting the sun in the background, just focusing on very kind of normal grasses, but suddenly when you've got frost on them, they turn into something quite beautiful. Frost and sunlight together in combination is quite something. So aperture in one of my favourite places on earth. So it's just a balance between using ISO, using shutter speeds, and using it creatively as well. I mean, if you're using aperture to just focus on a particular area, then try and use the widest aperture possible, so you're really kind of bringing out the contrast, and you get an interesting kind of range of colours and tones. And if you're looking at frost, you know, you've got beautiful reflections and surfaces and things like that. So I have another video on how to use Aperture up here, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.